Fortune exploits. Orphan's cry for dad at midnight shocks the whole room. It was a night thick with tension, the kind that seemed to cling to the air like heavy fog. In a dimly lit house, shadows danced on the walls as whispers flowed from anxious lips. The clock ticked mercilessly towards midnight, a dark omen hanging in the silence. Then, piercing through the stillness, a shriek ripped through the night, a child's desperate cry. "Dad!" It echoed like a gunshot, startling everyone. The words hung suspended, wrapping around the room like a shroud. In the silence that followed, every face turned, eyes wide with disbelief. Lilith, just 9 years old, with tears streaming down her cheeks, stood alone in the center of the crowded living room. Her small frame shook, hands trembling, clutching a worn-out teddy bear that had seen better days. Those gathered could see her anguish reflected in the restless flickers of candlelight. The air thickened as a collective gasp floated through the room, each heart racing what could possibly cause such a heart-wrenching plea. Everyone felt the grip of fear. Few dared to make a sound, as if brave silence could contain the calamity unfolding. It wasn't just about the cries, it was about what they signaled. The loss, the despair, or a mystery brewing in the dark. Murmurs spread like wildfire, each whispered question adding to the chaos. What is wrong with her? Hasn't she lost enough already? Around the room, eyes exchanged glances, trying to piece together what was happening. In that moment, the shadows seemed to deepen, and an uneasy chill swept over the crowd. Was there something sinister lurking just beyond their sight? A darkness threatening to swallow them all? The weight of 100 queries hung in the air, each more pressing than the last. Just then, an older man stepped forward, his brow furrowed like a storm cloud. "Where is he, Lilith? Where is your father?" It was the question everyone dreaded, yet needed answered. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. With a sob, Lilith pointed towards the dark hallway, where shadows loomed thick and forbidding. The air grew heavy with anticipation. Had he abandoned her? Or worse, had something happened? Someone took a step forward. "I'll go." But even as they said it, doubt crept in, gnawing at the edges of their courage. Meanwhile, Lilith remained frozen, eyes wide, unable to process the concern around her. Then, amidst the rising panic, the house creaked ominously. The door at the end of the hallway suddenly cracked open, a faint light shining through, but what was waiting on the other side? A figure? A sign? Or just another heart-wrenching twist in a night already woven with sorrow? The tension crackled in the air, and as they leaned forward, breath held tight, the screams died down to nothing, leaving only a heavy question, echoing through the silence. Where was her father? The room held its breath, straining to hear the slightest sound from beyond the door. The flickering candles cast eerie shadows that danced wildly against the walls, reflecting the collective anxiety. Lilith's small finger trembled, pointing, her wide eyes filled with water. There was no way to know what evil lurked in the dark hallway, but she felt it, an invisible weight pressing on her small shoulders. As the door creaked fully open, a thin beam of light spilled into the living room, illuminating the faces of the horrified adults. A figure emerged from the darkness, slow and deliberate. It was a man, tall and gaunt, dressed in a long coat that billowed as he moved. His face was shrouded in shadows, but glimmers of his eyes sparkled like dark gemstones. The gasps that echoed through the room were as loud as thunder. "Dad!" Lilith's voice broke, barely above a whisper, and hope flickered in her chest. But the man stepped closer, and the whispers turned into murmurs laced with confusion. This was not her father, an older woman gasped, clutching her heart. "Who are you?" she demanded, anger rising through her fear. The man did not respond immediately, the corners of his lips curling ever so slightly, as if amused by their despair. "Your worst nightmare," he finally said, voice low and chilling. "I'm here for what's mine." "What do you mean?" Another voice shouted, a younger man stepping forward, fists clenched and trembling. "Get out. You don't belong here." But the stranger only chuckled, a dark sound that sent shivers down spines. "Belonging is subjective, my friend. I've come back for my daughter." His gaze locked onto Lilith, who stood rooted in place, confusion and fear battling in her heart. That a nervous murmur spread throughout the room. Could this man be telling the truth? Could he genuinely be her father, returned in the dead of night to claim her? But the adults exchanged glances, questioning this man's intentions. They all understood the power of secrets that lingered in the dark. "Lilith, don't listen to him," shouted the older man who had first approached her. "He's lying. Stay here. You're safe with us." But Lilith's heart raced. How could she trust them? The warmth of hope bathed her like sunlight breaking through clouds, yet doubt hovered at the edges. "Why are you here?" she managed to ask, her voice quivering but firm. "Why didn't you come for me before?" The man's smile faded, replaced by a cold expression. "I had my reasons, child. Safety is a delicate dance, and I was caught in it." His voice softened as he stepped closer, casting an unsettling gaze at the frightened crowd. "But now, it's time for you to come home. I'll protect you. No more shadows." The adults exchanged horrified glances, each heart thumping like a war drum. Something was deeply wrong here. A realization washed over them like icy water. This man was a stranger, yet he knew Lilith's name. As tension ramped up, the lights flickered, plunging them into wavering darkness for a heartbeat, but it felt like a lifetime. The candles then ignited brighter, illuminating the man's face, a face now twisted with more than just the passion of a parent. "Do you trust him, Lilith?" someone murmured, but she felt frozen by uncertainty. Could she willingly step into a darkness that promised safety, yet harbored unknown depths? The silence pressed heavily, and the shadows in the corners seemed to grow longer, as if they dared to envelop her. Before Lilith could answer, the front door swung open with a bang. All eyes turned, sudden fear gripping their hearts. Who was this new arrival? And more importantly, what did they bring with them? A figure stood silhouetted in the doorway, trembling and wide-eyed. "I'm here to help," they cried out, and in those frantic words, a storm of new questions brewed. Who could this be, and how far would the night unfold into darkness? The newcomers stumbled inside, breathless and shaking, their clothes damp with the chill of the night air. The flickering lights played tricks on their form, heightening the tension that pulsed through the room. Every eye was drawn to them, a mix of curiosity and dread. "Help!" the tall man echoed, his voice dripping with disdain. "And who might you be, little savior?" He stepped forward, and the adults instinctively closed ranks around Lilith, shielding her from the looming shadow. "I'm Clara," the newcomer blurted, eyes darting between the man and the frightened crowd. "I know him. He's dangerous." Gasps permeated the air like a thunderclap, electrifying the room even further. Clara's hands trembled at her sides, and her voice cracked, revealing a mixture of fear and determination. "He hasn't come for you, Lilith. He has come for something much darker." "Darker?" Lilith murmured, her heart racing. What could be darker than losing her father? The man smirked, a ghastly grin that revealed more than he intended. "You see, Clara, you don't understand the depth of my intentions." His gaze cut through the panic in the air, locking onto Lilith once more. "I'm here to bring her home, but not to the wayward life you think you know. It's so much more powerful." Clara's expression hardened. "You're not her father. You're a monster. You took her from him. You think returning will make everything right?" Lilith felt the depth of Clara's words hit her like a gust of wind, chilling her to the bone. But why did the man look at her, as if she were the missing piece in his dark puzzle? "I am but a guide, Clara," he replied, his voice silky and sinister, "leading my daughter to a life of extraordinary potential." "You are mistaken in your assumptions. Extraordinary or not, your potential comes at a price," Clara retorted, her resolve gaining strength. "It's not worth sacrificing her spirit." "Sacrifice?" The man chuckled, a laugh that resonated with wickedness. "In exchange for power? Oh, there is no sacrifice where the true essence lies. You should know that, dear Clara." The air thickened, suffocating with uncertainty. Lilith's heart hammered wildly in her chest, caught in a storm of conflicting emotions. She needed answers, clarity amidst chaos. "What do you mean?" she cried out, her voice stronger now, pulling focus back to her. "What are you going to do to me?" Wonderful question, my dear, he purred, taking another menacing step closer. We're going to find out together. You see, your lineage is far more remarkable than you can fathom. The shadows that dance around those in possession of great power can also protect. And what about trust? Clara shot back, eyes ablaze. What happens when the darkness consumes? You may offer safety, but what happens to her heart? The man shot Clara a glance that could freeze water. Some hearts must learn to thrive in darkness. Others break. Silence filled the room, heavy and tangible. That moment, as the walls seemed to stretch and sway under the tension, Lilith felt a shift within her. There was something beyond fear lingering in the air. It was a spark of revelation, an old story waiting to unfold. Suddenly, Clara stumbled back, her eyes widening in panic. Behind you, she gasped, pointing toward the hallway, and all heads turned, hearts racing. That a soft sound echoed from the dark, a whispery voice, almost a wail, breaking through the stillness. Help me. At that moment, every logical thought vanished. Who could it be? What awaited them in the shadows? And would it lead Lilith to the truth or into the depths of danger? In that moment of impending dread, it was clear. The night had just begun, and the horrors that lay in wait were not yet fully revealed. The silence shattered as the whisper echoed again, more desperate this time. Help me. The voice snaked through the room, causing each person to shudder as though it carried a chill from the grave. Lilith felt the hairs on the back of her neck rise. It was a sound that clawed at the edges of her sanity. Clara's eyes widened in horror, and she stepped forward, breaking the human barricade to face the darkness. Who are you? She demanded, her voice steady despite the quaking in her stomach. The man, once so imposing, now looked momentarily unsettled, glancing behind him as if the sound itself were a specter rising to haunt him. Lilith could barely breathe. Every word, every movement felt like a thread of fate unraveling before her. Please make it stop, she gasped, feeling a cold sweat form on her brow. The fear cascading through her heart twisted like a knife, pushing her to the edge. The shadows seemed to thicken, swirling as if alive. And then the voice came again, sharper, filled with anguish. It was close now. Lilith, help me. Who is there? Lilith shouted back, her voice trembling as she stepped toward the looming darkness. Fear warred with an inexplicable pull. Was it a relative or something worse? The man shifted anxiously, his gaze darting between Lilith and the darkened hallway. You mustn't listen to. But Clara, standing firm, interrupted him. No. If that is someone in trouble, we have to help. Her brave facade was barely holding, yet there was a strength in her voice that galvanized Lilith. If anyone would face the unknown, it would be them together. Stay back. Stay away from her. The man growled, his eyes flashing dangerously. The tension in the air snapped like a bowstring, and Lilith knew that whatever came next would alter everything. Suddenly, a figure stumbled into the dim light, a woman with tear-streaked cheeks and wild eyes. She looked like a ghost, a reflection of a memory Lilith could not place. Lilith, it's me. I need you to trust me. Lilith's breath hitched. What? Who are you? Your mother. The woman gasped, clutching her chest as if the weight of revelations tightened around her heart. You are in grave danger. The shadows, they're coming for you. Gasps filled the room, whispers of disbelief washed over them like a sudden storm. The man's face twisted in fury and disbelief, but Lilith couldn't turn away. Her mind raced, searching for answers amidst the chaos. Could this be true? Was this a trick of the shadows? Get away from her, he shouted, lunging forward, but Clara intercepted him, standing between Lilith and the approaching threat. I won't let you harm her, Clara shouted, eyes ablaze with defiance. The woman, her mother, took a step closer, urgency etched across her face. You must remember, Lilith. Only you can end this cycle. You have to embrace what you were born into. A shiver of recognition danced through Lilith. In that moment, memories long buried flickered to life, shrouded in mist and doubt. Could it be that she held a power that could reshape their fates? Around them, breaths hung in the air, heavy with confusion and fear. Would she accept this twisted inheritance or reject it? Trust me, her mother urged, desperation filling her voice, but the man's laughter cut through, dark and mocking. Foolish girl. She wants to exploit your gifts, just like me. Lilith's heart raced as she glanced from Clara to her mother. The truth felt elusive, like smoke slipping through her fingers. What was the right choice? And what would it cost her? As the shadows continued to writhe in anticipation, creeping closer, Lilith understood that she stood at the precipice of a decision that would lead her deep into darkness or perhaps into the light. The murmur of the crowd swelled, tension thickening as every eye locked onto her, waiting. The unthinkable question surged in her mind. Who will lock the door to the shadows forever? And in that tense moment, she realized the true battle was only just beginning. The air crackled with an unbearable tension. Lilith stood frozen, the weight of her mother's revelation pressing down on her like a mountain. She felt Clara's warm hand grip hers tightly, grounding her in this whirlwind of uncertainty. You need to decide, Lilith, Clara whispered, her eyes darting between the two women. You can't let him control you. Control? The man spat the word out, bitter and full of venom. You think she's here to help you? They want to trap you in a game you can't possibly win. Lilith's heart hammered against her ribcage. Her mother's face, a mix of fear and determination, was almost haunting. Don't listen to him. You were destined for greatness, Lilith. You have to embrace your power. Her voice trembled with urgency, echoing deep into Lilith's conscience. I can feel it, Lilith managed to say, her voice barely above a whisper. Her senses heightened, as if the air around her buzzed with energy. Visions flared within her mind, shadows dancing, voices murmuring, images she could barely grasp. Was this the power her mother spoke of, or was it a curse waiting to claim her? The shadows behind her mother twisted and swirled, their tendrils reaching out like fingers hungry for flesh. Lilith took a step back, fear slicking her palms. She could feel Clara's grip tighten in response. What if it consumes me? She asked, looking directly at her mother. What if I become like him? No. Trust your heart. Her mother cried, desperation clawing at her. Only you can change your fate. The man's laughter filled the room, a harsh, chilling sound. Destiny? Huh. You're nothing but a pawn in this cosmic joke. You think your mother has the answers? She was the first to turn her back on her own. Lilith's breath hitched. What do you mean? Ask yourself, Lilith, he sneered, stepping forward again, almost daring her to believe his words. Did she ever protect you? Did she ever really want you? The crowd gasped as Lilith's world began to shift. Emotions washed over her: anger, betrayal, confusion. Was she really just a pawn? But deep down, she felt the flicker of something more, a spark igniting within. She glanced at Clara, who nodded, guiding her back to that place of strength. Stay with me, Clara said fiercely, meeting her gaze, a lifeline she desperately needed. Don't listen to his lies. Her mother shouted, cutting through the chaos. The shadows thrive on doubt. Lilith took a deep breath, memories flooding back at lightning speed. Vivid images filled the void, laughter ringing through the halls, a mother's embrace that felt like home. No, I remember, she murmured, surprising herself as the weight of clarity began to push through the fog. I'm more than a pawn. I have a choice, she declared, her voice ringing out with newfound certainty. The shadows stopped, momentarily stunned, and the man froze. For one fleeting moment, the room held its breath. Then, the world exploded back into chaos. The shadows roared, a deafening sound, as if angered by her declaration. They lashed out, angry tendrils twisting toward her, wrapping around her ankles like serpents. Lilith struggled against their grasp, panic rising in her throat. Help me, she cried, her voice desperate as she felt the weight of the darkness closing in. Fight it, Lilith, Clara shouted, pushing forward, trying to pull her free. You're stronger than this. But the shadows were relentless, squeezing tighter, whispering promises of doom. And as Lilith's energy began to wane, she realized the true source of her power. Could she harness this desperation and turn it against them? Remember, her mother's voice rang out, clear and commanding. Only you can end this cycle. Lilith squeezed her eyes shut, summoning every ounce of courage she had left. I will remember. But just as she prepared to face the darkness, a loud crash resonated through the room. A strange figure burst in, cloaked in shadows and light, disrupting the chaos with an otherworldly presence. Enough, they thundered, their voice rolling like thunder across the walls. Lilith opened her eyes wide, her breath caught in that pivotal moment. Who was this new adversary, and what did they want? Caught between light and dark, She realized the choice had only just begun. The room froze, an electric silence hanging between breaths. The figure, illuminated by flickering light, seemed to hover just above the ground, radiating authority. Lilith's heart raced, caught in the collision of fear and curiosity. "Who are you?" she managed to ask, her voice trembling as the shadows hissed around her, struggling to pull her back into their grip. The figure stepped forward, their features obscured by the cloak, yet their eyes shone like bright stars piercing through the darkness. "I am the balance you've sought. You are not alone in this fight." Lilith blinked, unsure if hope was a foolish lure. "What do you mean? How can you help? Your lineage runs deeper than you know. Embrace it. The shadows will only consume those who hesitate," the figure warned, urgency threading their voice. The man who had mocked her earlier took a step back, skepticism etched across his face. "This is just another ploy to mislead her. They manipulate you, Lilith. Don't trust them." But the connection between the cloaked figure and Lilith felt undeniable, a magnetism that pulled her toward the light. She glanced at her mother, searching for reassurance, but Clara's fierce gaze shifted to the newcomer. "Whoever you are, we don't need your interference," Clara shouted, stepping protectively in front of Lilith, a fierce mother-bear guardianship. Without hesitating, the figure extended a hand, and a surge of shimmering energy crackled between them. "This is not interference, but a choice. Witness the power within you." Lilith's breath quickened as images flooded her mind, a dazzling tapestry of strength, of echoes from the ancestors whispering secrets of raw magic. She could feel the shadows recede, their grip weakening as power swelled in her chest. "Show me," she breathed, heart pounding. "Only you can unlock it," the figure replied, their voice a mixture of thunder and silk. "Focus on your heart." At that moment, her mother's voice broke through the fog. "Lilith, don't let the shadows sway you. He can't be trusted." Clara's desperation rang like a bell, echoing in the recesses of Lilith's mind. "Trust her. She fears your potential," the cloaked figure countered, their voice rising above the clamor, colliding with her fears and doubts. The room pulsed with energy, each heartbeat synchronizing with an ancient rhythm. The shadows, sensing their impending defeat, shrieked, retreating into corners, their whispers turning to frantic screams. In that moment of decision, Lilith felt everything: the weight of her mother's fear, the weight of the man's malice, the weight of her own power waiting to be unleashed. "I'm more than a pawn," Lilith declared, feeling the truth blaze within her. She stepped forward, heart racing, ready to embrace what lay ahead. "I choose to fight." The shadows screamed again, twisting wildly as they realized their hold was slipping. The room vibrated with tension as the figure uncloaked, revealing sharp features framed by dark hair, eyes glinting with an ethereal light. Lilith gasped. The face sent a shiver of recognition down her spine. "You," she whispered, the reality dawning on her like the sun breaking through dark clouds. "You're?" "Yes, Lilith," they said, a smirk dancing across their lips. "And we have much to discuss about your destiny." Just then, the man lunged forward, but before Lilith could react, the figure raised their hand, a barrier of shimmering energy erupting between them. The impact sent the man stumbling back, unable to penetrate the growing light. Lilith's mind raced. If this was truly a chance to uncover her past and wield her power, she had no choice but to dive in, no more hesitation. "Are you ready to reclaim your destiny?" the figure asked again, their gaze fierce, yet inviting. With the shadows shrieking in pain, a new purpose sealed itself in her heart. "I am." But before she could take another step toward understanding, a deafening pulse erupted from within the vaults, sending a wave of darkness crashing into the room once more. Pulsations of power and dread filled the space, ensnaring them all once again. "Lilith, hold on!" Clara screamed as the shadows surged back to reclaim what they had lost. And just like that, the threshold of her choice wavered, balance tipping dangerously. The answer to her destiny lingered on the edge of chaos, and she felt the weight of an unforeseen truth ready to uncoil its tendrils around her. What had she unleashed, and could she control it? The pulse of energy rippled through the room, a wild storm threatening to engulf them. Lilith felt the air grow thick, oppressive, almost suffocating. Shadows twitched and slithered like vipers, closing in once more. She tried to summon the light she sensed deep within her, but doubt crept in like an unwelcome guest. "Stay with me," the cloaked figure urged, their vibrant eyes blazing brighter. "You're not powerless." Lilith's heart thudded painfully against her ribs as the shadows writhed, their screeches mingling with Clara's frantic cries. Visibility faded like fading ink, and they were swallowed by darkness. The figure's radiant light was her only anchor. She gritted her teeth, trying to push back against the overwhelmingly familiar fear that clawed at her. "Focus," the figure commanded, their fiery intensity drawing her almost close enough to touch the truth. "What does your heart tell you? Identify your fear." Lilith inhaled sharply. It wasn't just fear of the shadows. It was the fear of failure, of repeating her family's mistakes, of losing herself to the darkness. With that awareness came clarity. Her anxious thoughts quieted, and she let the fear transform into something else: strength. "I am not afraid," she shouted, her voice breaking through the cacophony. "I am Lily, daughter of Clara, bearer of a legacy that men like him want to suppress. I choose light." The moment the words left her lips, warmth cascaded over her, dancing like fireflies in a night sky. The shadows recoiled, shrieking in terror as if caught in a flame. The energy swarmed around her, threading through her fingers, spiraling up her arm until it burst forth like a supernova. A wall of light flared to life, pushing back the encroaching darkness. "Look within, Lilith," the figure called, now glowing with an intensity that felt both alien and familiar. Her heart raced as memories coursed through her veins. Whispered secrets of an ancient bloodline, the strength of women who had risen before her, all igniting a fire in her chest. Memories of laughter, love, and familial ties intertwined with moments of loss. With renewed conviction, she willed the light forward, splintering the shadows with beams of hope. The darkness fought back, but it was weakening, giving way to her burgeoning power. "More," the figure urged, their voice now mingled with pride and encouragement. "Push it all away. Embrace your reality." Just then, a howl erupted from the man who had taunted her. "You don't know what you're doing. They'll come for you." Silencing him, she turned her focus inward, drawing from the well of strength she had barely recognized. "This isn't just my fight," she roared, eyes locked with her mother's fierce gaze. "This is for all of us." A new torrent of light surged through her, encasing everyone in a protective halo. The shadows writhed, desperate and panicked, as the barrier held firm against their onslaught. Clara stood by Lilith's side, her expression wavering between pride and fear, the fight igniting within her too. "Together, Lilith. Together," she urged, gripping her daughter's hand tightly. The bond between them ignited the flames of warmth, spreading through the tempest like wildfire. But just as victory seemed within reach, the very ground shook violently, and a deafening boom echoed through the vault. The shadows didn't retreat, they doubled down, swirling violently, now fleeing only from the light, driven mad by desperation. "What is happening?" Lilith cried, eyes darting to the figure for answers, but they merely stood, cloaked in radiance, unwavering against the tremors. "Something is awakening," they murmured. "A force far greater than the shadows. Maybe one you didn't expect." Lilith's heartbeat quickened. The ceiling cracked ominously as dust and debris rained down. Out of the corner of her eye, she saw deep cracks forming in the walls, blackness creeping through like tendrils, encroaching upon their hard-won light. With the shadows rising once more, chaos surrounded them. "What do we do?" she screamed, fighting to drown out the cacophony. Unexpectedly, the figure turned, their mouth forming a determined line. "Prepare yourself, Lilith. They want to draw you into the darkness. But you can defy them." As the room teetered on the edge of destruction, she knew she faced not just a choice between light and dark, but a reckoning of her power itself. Would she turn to the growing shadows, or claim the legacy burning deep within her? "Stand firm." The command reverberated in her mind as she steeled herself against the dark tide. And just when hope felt tenuous, a deafening roar echoed from the depths, shaking her to her core, a cry that felt simultaneously familiar and threatening, splitting everything in two. A low voice whispered in her mind, urging, deceiving. "I will find you," it hissed, echoing through the whirlwind, binding her spirit and casting her towards an unmistakable fate. shattering everything she thought she knew. What force had she truly awakened? Would the shadows consume her, or would she rise against them once and for all? The shadows lunged, hungry and chaotic. The air vibrated with a tension so thick it felt like breathing through a wall. Lilith could taste it smoky and bitter on her lips. She glanced at Clara, who was gritting her teeth, her eyes reflecting both determination and worry. Hold on, Lilith. We can't let them win. Everything inside her screamed for escape, but her heart beat a defiant rhythm, pounding a song of hope and resilience. The figure beside her flared brighter, illuminating the chamber with a glow that felt almost tangible, a lifeline in a sea of despair. Remember your lineage. The figure thundered, their voice booming over the din. You are the successor to a legacy of power and strength. Let it flow through you. With a primal scream, Lilith pushed against the flood of darkness. She couldn't do this alone. She needed her mother. Clara's hand felt like fire, grounding her. Across the storm, she caught a glimpse of the cloaked figure's pride-tinged gaze, urging her on. Let it out, Lilith. Clara echoed, her voice cutting through the chaos like a knife. Let the light take form. Lilith closed her eyes, letting the memories fuel her, a childhood spent in laughter, evenings filled with stories of fierce women who had defied all odds. She drew on that strength now. Light of the past, guide me. Her voice resonated powerfully, merging with the pulse of energy surging from within her. Suddenly, a bright beam erupted from her core, flooding the chamber with a golden light. It coiled and twisted, forming a protective barrier that halted the shadows' advance. Relief surged through her, but it was fleeting. Just as the shadows buckled, a deeper rumble resounded. The howling intensified, spiraling out of control, and Lilith was sent crashing into the unforgiving ground. Pain jolted through her, yet it ignited something deeper. Gritting her teeth, she pushed herself up. She would not let this be the end. The chamber trembled again, and the roots of darkness wriggled up the walls, growing bolder, crawling toward her like insidious vines. The hollow whispering filled her ears, urging her to falter. Join us, Lilith. There's nothing left to fight for. No, she roared, summoning the pain, the doubt, and transforming it into clarity. I refuse to accept this. I will not surrender. Gripping Clara's hand tighter, she smirked at the shadows, her heart ablaze with fury. Suddenly, she knew. In that moment, she was not merely a vessel. She was a warrior meant to reclaim her destiny. Let us end this, she declared, her voice ringing with unyielding conviction. Together, they launched their concentrated light, a fierce projectile dancing toward the shadows. But then, the ground erupted beneath them. A black fissure gaped wide, pulling everything in a torrent of chaos. Time suspended as nails of darkness ripped through the floor, and Lilith looked on in horror as the shadowy abyss threatened to swallow them whole. Lilith! The figure's voice broke through the dimming noise as the light trembled around them. An unexpected urgency coated their words. Do not lose your focus. You have the strength to seal it away. But doubt crept back in. What if it wants me? She gasped, her voice trembling. It doesn't define you. Your choice defines you. The words rang true like a bell, clarity piercing through her fog. As the void howled, she braced herself against the shadows. This ends now, she yelled, every ounce of her being aligned with her resolve. A tempest of light shot forth from her hands, clashing against the darkness of the abyss. In that moment, everything shifted. Time splintered as vaporous forms of memory. Faces of her ancestors flared briefly before her eyes, ushering strength. She channeled their courage, and suddenly, the shadows recoiled in fury. But then, she heard it again. That menacing growl, that insidious whisper carving through the air, pressed urgently against her mind. You will regret this. The room shook violently, and as chaos reigned, Lilith felt a seething energy coiling around her. The light fought fiercely but strained against the dark tide, the moment of truth hanging in the air, heavy as a storm cloud. What waited for her in that growing darkness? Would it entwine her heart, or grant her the freedom she desperately sought? The abyss called to her, and the very foundation of her existence began to tremble as everything spun out of control. The shadows roared, a cacophony of dread and fury as they lashed out at Lilith's light, seeking any weakness, any hesitation. Her heart raced, pounding against her chest as the ground beneath her shifted like the rise and fall of a cruel tide. "Keep pushing, Lilith. You're stronger than this," Clara screamed, her voice a beacon amid the chaos. The abyss yawned, hungry for her. The shadows writhed like serpents, probing at the edges of her resolve. Lilith squeezed Clara's hand, feeling the warmth. They were tethered, two souls in a tempest, but uncertainty gripped her throat. "What if this is all I have? What if I can't fight it?" "No time for doubts. Remember who you are?" Clara shot back, her eyes fierce, unwavering. Lilith's memories blurred with the shadows, flickering around her like snapshots of a family scattered across time. Her mother, strong and fierce, whispering words of encouragement. The stories of bravery they shared, tales of women who fought against insurmountable odds. Every moment forged into steel, ready to protect her. With a deep breath, Lilith reached into that well of strength. "I choose me. I choose us." An electric surge shot from her core, igniting her spirit. Light burst forth, streaming like golden fire, and a protective shield enveloped them. The abyss screeched in response, recoiling as if stung. The shadows thrashed, lunging forward, desperate to break through the towering barrier. A thought pierced the chaos. What if they were wrong? What if darkness was just a mask, and behind it lay something unexpected? Wrath spread through her veins. "I will find the truth," she declared defiantly, her voice slicing through the tumult, as if fueled by her conviction. More light radiated from her, brighter and more intense. It spread through the chamber, illuminating ancient inscriptions on the walls, words that spoke of trials and triumphs. These were her ancestors, calling out, rallying her. Then silence. The shadows paused, hesitating as the light surged forward, illuminating everything around them. But in that moment of stillness, she heard the whisper again, low and insistent. "Join us, you know you want to find your power, be whole stop." Lilith yelled, her voice echoing as she clutched Clara's hand tighter. Memories danced on the edge of her mind, resistance against the lurking emptiness. "I want to let you take me. I will not be one of you." With every ounce of will, she poured herself into the light. It expanded, filling the chamber as the darkness shrieked in panic, writhing against the surge. Lilith felt the power within her converge, a fierce blaze that ignited every corner of her soul, every shred of doubt turning to ash. But from the heart of that darkness, a figure emerged, cloaked and sinister. A smirk twisted across its face, eyes glowing with a light that mirrored her own but was tainted with malice. "You think you can defeat me? I am your fear, your doubt. You cannot banish me because I am part of you." As those words slithered through the air, Lilith staggered. The ground beneath her fractured, spilling into the abyss. Clara's grip faltered for just a moment, and Lilith felt the tether snap. No. Panic surged through her. What if she was right? What if she had unknowingly forged a connection that would doom her? Before her, the shadowy figure beckoned, its presence swirling with hypnotic allure. Lilith's heart raced, the tension in the air crackling like an electric storm. The strength she summoned felt like a flickering flame against the rising tide of despair. The abyss stretched wider now, a gaping mouth ready to consume her very essence. What was the cost of courage when faced with the darkness that lay within? Would she embrace the light and mend the fractures in her spirit, or surrender to the shadows whispering what she feared most? As the decision loomed heavy over her, the shadows surged again, the ground quaked, and the figure's mocking laughter filled her ears, embedding panic deeper into her heart. The choice awaited her, a turning point that would determine everything. But could either path truly bring her peace, or was she fated to battle this darkness forever? With a sudden jolt, Lilith surged forward, her heart racing but resolute. "You are not me," she shouted, defiance echoing through the air. She drew her strength from the depths of her lineage, the faces of fierce ancestors flashing before her eyes, their courage pulsed in her veins like a steady drumbeat. "I won't let you define me." Suddenly, the shadows lunged, a turbulent wave of fury, but Lilith stood her ground. The menacing figure before her twisted in rage, its glowing eyes burning like coals. "You think you can escape me? I am a part of you. The doubts you've nurtured, the fears you've fed, I am your darkness." "No," she shouted, grounding herself with Clara's presence. You are merely a shadow of my potential. The air vibrated with fierce determination, each word an arrow aimed at the heart of her greatest fear. Being swept away by another onslaught of shadows, Lilith focused inward, drawing upon love and legacy. Memories surged to the surface, the morning sun glowing gold as it filtered through trees, laughter shared, warm embraces, and lessons taught. No more, she breathed, letting the warmth wash over her. You don't control me. I choose the light. In that moment, the energy inside her flared. A dazzling light erupted from her core, cascading outward in a blinding wave. The tendrils of darkness recoiled, shrieking in panic, the malevolent figure's grin faltering as the light surged higher. It illuminated everything, revealing ancient symbols etched into the walls, reminders of strength, unity, and resilience. Together, Clara cried, and Lilith felt the warmth of her mother's spirit. With their hands locked tight, a surge of collective energy shot through them, a powerful echo stirring their combined love into action, igniting a wildfire against the shadows. Feel our power, Clara hollered, igniting the light further. It's not just yours, it's ours. And Lilith felt every ounce of it, the joyous currents of hope, of love, of every challenge faced together, generating an unstoppable force. The massive wave of light collided with the shadows, lighting the room like sunlight breaking through a storm. The grasp of darkness began to dissolve, cries of despair filling the space as the figures warped and twisted in retreat, cries falling silent beneath the surge. I am not afraid, Lilith declared, standing tall. I choose to be whole. The light enveloped her, wrapping her in warmth and safety, her spirit unfurling like a blossom greeting the dawn. With one final push, she threw out her palm, releasing the surge into the very core of the abyss that had threatened to consume them. The shadows screamed chaotic and frantic as they were drawn into the whirling energy, bound to it, the cold presence dissipating like mist in sunlight. The room began to pulse with vibrancy, and the cracks in the walls shimmered with golden light, healing swiftly in an explosion that sent a wave cascading outward. The shadows were defeated, vanishing like a dream chased away by daylight. Gasps of astonished joy rippled through those gathered, the raucous silence of the past giving way to a new harmony, gathered together in a moment etched in time. Every face reflected awe. Clara's expression shifted from fear to pride and love, while the figure beside them finally unraveled the cloak that had hidden their true visage. It was a woman, fierce and radiant. You've done it, Lilith. You have chosen your path. Feeling the warmth envelop her, Lilith took a deep breath. She had reclaimed her destiny, but it meant more than battling shadows. It was about understanding who she was and the choices she could make. The darkness would always be there, whispering, but she had the power to face it. As Lilith's heart swelled with newfound strength, she turned to Clara. We did this together. The crowd erupted into cheers, an overwhelming wave of support washing over them. Lilith, Clara said lovingly, brushing a tear from her daughter's cheek, you are not alone anymore. You never were. There is so much good ahead. The shadows were gone, but an understanding lingered. Darkness would always be lurking, but they would face it as a family. With bright eyes, Lilith looked at everyone, hair tousled, spirit unyielding. Together, we'll learn to embrace both sides to be whole. As light danced in their eyes, laughter bubbled up, the warmth of hope returning to fill the space where dread once loomed. Let us go home, Lilith smiled, her voice steady, the promise of a new dawn wrapping around them like a warm embrace. When they stepped into the light, laughter rang out, and Lilith sensed the embrace of possibility around her. No shadows, no darkness, only love. Now, Lilith felt free, knowing the journey to reclaim her power had just begun. And you need to subscribe now to ensure you don't miss the next exclusive adventures. This is the moment to show your support. Smash that like button now to help feed the algorithm. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories because we want to hear from you. And don't wait even one more second to share this thrilling conclusion with at least 5 friends who need to see this story wrap up. Let's keep the magic alive.